Yo, 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 yo! Welcome to the Andy Social Podcast. My name is Andy Dowling, and this week's shout out, straight into it, folks. Each and every week, I thank somebody that supports me, supports the band, Lord. It could be either of the podcasts, whether it be Andy Social or Selfstarter. And it can be arranged in different ways. It could be messages of encouragement. It could be buying some merchandise. It could be shouting me a beer via the PayPal button over at andysocial.net. It could be leaving a review somewhere on the internet. It could be a bit of social media love. You know the drill. Whatever it is, small, big, it all adds up and it helps me so much to keep me fueled, keep me inspired and motivated. So thank you so much to everybody that continues to do it. This week's shout out, however, is for Bradley Cross from Mount Isa in Queensland, Australia, for you international listeners. I don't know if I know anybody else from Mount Isa that's listening to this podcast. So Bradley, you'll have to fill me in. Is there other people out there? Is there a group out there in Mount Isa that's listening to this podcast? If so, please let me know. But so cool to see this podcast reaching a lot of regional areas. I think there's a lot of value for this podcast to reach a lot of people that aren't in the big metro areas. You guys know, especially through Selfstarter, that I have a bit of a passion for the regional parts of this country. And so it's cool just to see this podcast getting out there and reaching more and more people. So a shout out to Bradley, because Bradley bought a T-shirt not too long ago, and I really had to put it on public record by saying thank you for the support. And I've added a couple of extra things when I sent that out to you as well, just a bit of a thank you. But please, when you hear this as well, shoot me a message and I'm going to send you out something in the post. I've got a bunch of really cool things. I've been getting a lot of freebies from listeners of the podcast. So some of you folk that have been listening for a while will know that there's been some great musicians across this country of ours that have been donating some CDs for giveaways. I'm going to do a few more sort of prize packs and raffles and I don't know, whatever it might be later on down the track. But I'd have a lot of really cool freebie stuff and things that I'm going to give away. So I'm going to send you out something in the post as well, Bradley. But thank you so much for your support, and thank you to everybody else that continues to support me and everything that I'm involved with. Cheers. Hey folks, guess what? I also play bass in the Australian metal band Lord. Surprise, surprise. You can go to lord.net.au if you want to get a taste of what we are all about. It's just a bit of old school heavy metal, in my opinion. We've got a fantastic website where it's got links to all of our merchandise, streaming music, our video clips, our history. There's just so much stuff there, so much great content. One of the better band websites out there, in my biased opinion. Go and check it out. Size it up against your website. Tell me yours is better. I dare you. lord.net.au. Go and have a look. In addition to playing in a heavy metal band, I also host the Selfstarter podcast, which is all about small business, self-employment and freelancing. So if you want to earn a little bit of pocket money on the side of your normal job, or you hate your job and you want to get out of your job, or maybe you're just starting or you own your own small business, Selfstarter could be for you. So I have a fortnightly podcast that comes out. I also got a blog as well, lots of resources. It's something that I feel very passionate about. I'm really, really happy with the success that it's had to date. I've been a finalist for Podcast Awards in the National Sound Archive in Canberra for Selfstarter. Just some really great accolades so far in such a short space of time, and I could not have done it without my anti-social legion of friends that have jumped over to Selfstarter and helped me through that channel as well. So selfstarter.com.au, search for Selfstarter in the podcast player that you're listening to this through right now, and if it's not there, please let me know, because I'm trying to spread it all over the internet. So thank you very much. Lord.net.au, selfstarter.com.au. Thank you very much, folks. Here is your metal plug. If any of you folks are going to the upcoming Dragonland Australian tour, Dragonland are a power metal band from Sweden. I think you guys probably worked that out by now. It's their first ever time coming to Australia, and they're going to be here for a few dates in the first week of September, which I think by the time you're listening to this will be next week, possibly. I'll have 25 exclusive laminates that are going to have the Dragonland tour artwork on there, and it's also going to be branded Anti-Social as well for you guys. I have 25 of them available. No more are going to be printed. You can get them signed by the band. It's a cool little souvenir, cool little memento. It doesn't give you any privileged access. There's no VIP access with it, but it's just something that a lot of other people won't have. So it's a cool little extra thing to have in your collection. If you want one of these, all you have to do is contact Stu from Stormrider Touring, who is actually on this episode, so stay tuned. Stu can be contacted by emailing stormriderfestival@live.com.au. If you haven't got tickets yet, you can go to stormridertouring.com.au/tickets. All you need to do is when you do email Stu, just give him proof of purchase that you bought a ticket and which show you're going to, and then he will work out with you, coordinate it if there's any of these passes left, of how to collect your pass, and more than likely it'll just be at the door on the night, but I'll let Stu manage that with you guys. But hopefully there's still something available for you guys. Anybody that's a last minute Larry and hasn't got their pass or their ticket yet, hopefully there's still a pass available for you folk, but only 25. There are no extras being printed. So it's just a cool little memento, a cool little exclusive for you guys. I'm not publicizing this anywhere else. It's literally only for people that are willing to cop my voice in these intros. So if you're listening to me, you're being very patient, thank you so much. And please shoot Stu an email and give him all the details, and he'll hook you up with one of these passes if there's any left. If you want to see Dragonland and you're curious as to when they're actually touring, they're going to be here in the first week of September, which I believe will be next week when you're listening to this. It begins on Tuesday the 4th of September with a meet and greet at Utopia Records in Sydney. I think that's about 4 or 4:30 in the afternoon. Then the actual tour kicks off the next day, Wednesday the 5th of September at the Basement in Canberra, Thursday the 6th at the Bullface Stag in Sydney, Friday the 7th at Crowbar in Brisbane, and then Saturday the 8th of September at the Croxton Band Room in Melbourne. If you want to know more about those shows, the support bands, the lineups, there's some pretty hefty line, especially that Melbourne one. That Melbourne one is jam-packed with talent. So go over to stormridertouring.com.au/tickets. All the lineup information, all the ticket information, links to Dragonland, everything. I mean, you can check out the previous show notes of this podcast as well. There's heaps of links to Dragonland if you haven't checked out their music yet and you want to make a last-minute decision. Plenty of resources there. So if you're interested, hopefully there's a laminate left for you guys. And awesome. This week's episode, folks, is with your old friend, Stu McGill. I know many of you know Stu very well. I've known him for quite a few years. Stu, if you haven't met him before, is the founding member, guitarist in Silent Night, which is a power metal band from Perth. And if you know the Australian metal scene, power metal and Perth don't quite go together, which we'll get into later on in the chat. But a really cool band, and Stu's really, really passionate about melodic metal and power metal, and you'll hear that in our conversation. And he's such a cool guy. He also runs Stormrider Touring, which is him putting on his own shows. We talk about how that all came to be. And he's doing his first international tour, which is the Dragonland tour, which you've heard me plug numerous times over the last several weeks. So we talk a lot about that tour and how that came to be, which is a really cool story. It involves me, which I forgot all about. And he's also got another little project that he's created called Adbandtage, which is all about little tips and tools and tricks for bands. I'm big on DIY music, self-managed things. I think we live in a world now where musicians have to learn a whole range of additional skill sets, not just be musicians. And I can understand there's pros and cons associated with that, but I think it's fantastic to be able to be upskilled in a number of different areas. And what Stu's doing is creating this resource for musicians to be able to learn really simple things that can help their band, take it to that next level. So if you want to check out more, I'm going to put everything in the show notes over at andysocial.net, but you can go to Adbandtage. So, you like the pun there. It's ADBANDTAGE.com. If you want to check that out. It's also on Facebook as well. You can go to Silent Night, which I don't know if Silent Night has actually got their proper domain. I shouldn't say proper, but their domain, I forgot to ask him about this. It's powermetalsupreme.com, which is the name of one of their releases. So you can go there. Silent Night is also on Facebook, and that's Night, KNIGHT, which you'll see anyway. You're listening to this podcast. Or if you want to check out Stormrider Touring, you can go to stormridertouring.com.au. But as always, all of the links, I'm going to have videos and music and all this sort of stuff in the show notes, as with every episode of the Antisocial podcast, so you can go over there and check it out. But enough of me. Please enjoy this fantastic chat with Stu McGill of Silent Night, Stormrider Touring, and Adbandtage. First things first, I've got to say, I'm really impressed with your BuzzFeed headline that you put up a little while ago with your Adbandtage page, where it was like, you can impress any promoter with this one simple trick. And
you like that one, did you?
Yeah, well, I only just saw it this morning because I was having a bit of a sticky beak around. I thought, oh, well, I better click on this link then to find out what it is. And I thought, damn it, he sucked me in straight away. So well done on the clickbait headline. And the little tip that's in there is actually a really good one that I only found out about a week ago as well. So
it's hell frustrating when you don't use it, man. Like, you were upsetting me for not using it, and now you can impress me and everyone else. think about how poor Dave Balfour feels when you're gigging at Steel Assassins and you haven't added the event to your page yet, mate.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in the past, what I always did was I would create a separate event based off, the band's created one. And so there's 50 million different event pages for the same event, which, some people might go, well, that's good because you can find it in a whole range of different ways, but it's hard to send updates or a new message out to everybody if there's 50 million different event pages for the one show.
That's right. And also, I think it's hard to gauge from the venue and promoter's point of view, like maybe what the attendance might be like. So there's there might be 10 pages with all 50 individual people that don't know about the other pages. So all of a sudden you got 500 people showing up, and they've got security for 100 and bar staff for 100, and you know what I mean? I don't know. I just think it's good. Anyway, that's one of my poorer ones. I think I deliberately did it as a BuzzFeed, like you're sort of what you're saying, just for a laugh to see what actually would happen. But since that page has such low numbers anyway. But we'll see if this actually boosts it. But I think that was maybe the first post I actually did on that. I just reposted it recently.
It's it's one of those things where it'll show up in the months and years to come. It'll just show up in an SEO result somewhere, like on Google. Someone's typing for something, or they'll find it sitting in a news feed somewhere, and then suddenly you never know. It could go viral, and then suddenly everyone's sharing it around.
Well, that T-shirt one I did last weekend, that's getting picked up by all sorts of weird sites I've never even heard of, and so that I just did the one sort of initial post on that, and that's every other day there's a few shares from random places. So, one was I don't know, ABC, or something like the station or something like that. Like someone's I don't know how it works, but it's good. It's helping out people when we can, and it's not like it's a full-time job for me. It's just when I get 5 seconds spare, I've got that idea. I really got to write down because sometimes people will ask me about these things, and I'm like, I'll type it out again. For fuck's sake! If I put it all in a resource all in one spot, then at least I could just chuck a quick link on on someone's messenger or whatever, and then I could just walk away. It's done. It's explained once properly.
And you don't have to worry about trying to type it out the same way you did the last time. You might miss a key piece of information that you told one guy in the past, and then you forgot to tell the next person, and then it's a bit of Chinese whispers.
Yeah, exactly.
But
mate.
I think one of those things, I mean, we're both in the same sort of, the same sort of domain where we both are pretty DIY, and we do a lot of sort of groundwork with our bands, and sort of, it's very self-managed, and we sort of just, we create what we've got with what we've got at our fingertips. But, I think what a lot of bands don't do is they don't communicate how these things happen. So I think a lot of bands sort of sit behind the curtain and like the element of mystery. And when everyone goes, oh, wow, that's amazing, you go, well, of course it is. And you don't tell them why or how you got to that point. And so I think what you're doing with this is really cool, because there's a lot of simple things that people just gloss over and they don't realize. And it could actually help everybody. And it all comes back tenfold as well. Well,
it's the thing, I always go, there's no right or wrong way with a lot of things in music, as you know. You could do it either way, but I don't know, I'm a dickhead. I'll see someone doing something and just keep your mouth shut, man. And then I'll be like, oh, but you could really be doing it better. But don't. And then the other voice in the head's like, no, shut up. Just let them do it. Let them do their own way. You don't know. And then but then some people sort of younger bands, I just remember what it was like when I learned everything I could from myself. I asked questions and I watched, and I sort of had some good ideas, I think, in the beginning. But then some other guys sort of came to me and said, oh, how did you get on this show? Or how did you do this album? Or how did you do that? So I've sort of started doing some casual consulting sort of stuff, because, I use a PR company when we need to for the band and stuff. And that's expensive, but it's really beneficial. But, a lot of younger bands are sort of going, I'm not paying that much money for that. Are we even going to get anything out of it? So I thought, look, we're trying to ease these guys. Like I chatted with my PR guy who you use. And I sort of said, like, well, I might just do like a real basic sort of like package for some of these guys and just get them their toe in the water and learn how, like, and show them what a press release will do for them, or a proper photo shoot will do, and a logo that looks good, what format you're supposed to use. And then it sort of just came from that, where like, I just started building resources around that. Like when you're about to play your first album, what the hell do you need to do? So it's sort of mostly targeted at those sort of folks. Like guys like you, and if you put out 4 or 5 albums, you know it all already. So they probably look at me and think, oh, this guy's just talking shit. But for the younger guys who haven't done it before or are just about to do it, and I made so many mistakes, man. Like it's we can save a couple other people from doing it, then that would be good.
I guess the big thing is that no one actually, and you said before, there's no right way to approach any of this stuff, and there's better ways than others, but I mean everyone's got their unique approach of how they get to whatever their version of success is. And I mean, even for us, like I look at some of the stuff that you post and I look at it and go, oh, I never thought of that. Or like, I've always been doing it a different way for so long and thinking, well, that's the best way or the most efficient way of doing something. And sometimes these really simple things, or just getting a different perspective or a different insight on, a particular function that a band normally does, and you take it for granted. And then suddenly someone goes, well, I've been doing it this way for the last several years. And you go, huh, all right, or maybe I might tweak something, because I think after a while you tend to think that you do know it all, and you don't go back and analyze all the simple stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis, because it just becomes automatic. And so it's interesting where people start to communicate this stuff a lot more. And for you and your approach, like, helping out a lot of younger bands that just have got no idea, because it's all new ground and it can be quite overwhelming from a whole range of different reasons. But by you putting it out there in the public domain, I think a lot of other guys are sort of looking at it from a different perspective and going, hey, this is really cool, because I can go back and sort of start tweaking some things or refining some things.
Well, that's right, man. Like, I think it's all about that. And like, I've got a couple of blokes, like, me and you bounce ideas around sometimes, and Cabler from Claim the Throne, him and I have a lot of similar sort of ideas, sort of DIY stuff as well. So, or maybe Dicey as well. And there's a couple other blokes who we sort of flick messages back and forth, like, oh, hey, how'd you do this? Or me and Cabler share a lot of, like apps, like, or like, oh, hey, have you done this on MailChimp before? Or you'd be like, oh, hey, how about Bluehost? Or whatever it is, so it's cool to have a couple of guys outside of your band. Because, like, in my band, I do all the organizing, like what you would do a lot of the organizing as well. So you sort of like, if it's kept in-house in your own band, you start asking opinions, you'll end up with 5 opinions and you'll never get anything done. But I've got the freedom to pretty much make decisions on most stuff. Like if it's admin sort of like day-to-day stuff like that, I will just do it without anyone consulting within-house. But if I find like one of you guys who are sort of out there, like, there's a bloke who's already done it, or probably will know more about it than me, then I'll definitely ask. And that usually helps out a lot. Just get a little bit of extra information from someone. And sometimes I'll try the new one myself and just, hey, this actually worked. And then I'll message those blokes and say, hey, give this a go,
It's, I think there's something there where you can lean on other people that aren't directly associated with your band, where there's not that emotional attachment and that emotional investment in the band. So yeah, like if I go to the guys in my band and I start throwing a concept out there, then the feedback I'm going to get from them is based off their stake in the band as well. So they're going to be coming at it from, well, how do I fit into this equation? I've got to not protect, that's probably the wrong word because it sounds so defensive, but we're all holding our ground and we want to make sure that we're being seen to contribute equally along the way. And so there's a bit of there's a bit of selfishness that comes from the way that we all sort of give our feedback. And I do it the same when the guys ask me a question. But when you start asking questions to people that are not in the band and they're sort of on the outside looking in, it's a lot more objective, and it's a bit more well, here are the things that I've tried. I don't really care whether you use them or not because it's up to you, and I've got no investment in your band. But here's a whole bunch of ideas to throw at you and take what you want. And so then suddenly you get the facts and you strip away a lot of the emotion. You tend to get like a lot better, I don't know, a lot better feedback. I mean, it depends on what you're asking and what you're trying to work through. But I think I think there's a lot of people that sort of fear getting outside of your little group and asking questions because it drives a perception that you don't know what you're doing, or you want to be high and mighty and know-it-alls. And
well, I think you definitely need someone you can trust in that sort of regard. Like, it's good to have rapport with it, and keeping it small. Like, I think the big mistake would be like making the old Facebook post of when it's something quite sensitive like that. You might ask your entire 4,000 friends, or you've got probably 5,000 plus, or whatever it is now. Yeah, and then you also like no one's going to agree because half people won't even fucking know because they just want to throw it. Yeah, so like so yeah, it's definitely for anyone listening who might be thinking about this sort of thing, find people. What I always thought, people who've already achieved what you want to achieve, find what they do, find them, do something similar, and you'll probably get similar results, right? So. That's what I always like. Even when my band first started, the closest thing I could find to what I wanted to do was Dungeon, and then the closest thing to Dungeon I could find was Lord. And you would probably remember when we met was like 2009 on the Set in Stones tour. Mm-hmm. And you had two shows over here, and I came to them both, and that was like, okay, great. So this is how these guys do this. How can I make a band that can perform these sort of songs in this country and make it work? And then that's sort of where that started, and then we ended up here. So it's good. I think it's always key to find something you can model off, and then you can be an original idea, but someone would have done something similar, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think just one thing that you mentioned really quickly there that's probably really important, and it's something that this is a weak point for me, and something that I need to be a little bit more aware of, because it comes from an area of laziness. But I do the question on Facebook sometimes. Hey, does anybody blah blah blah? And it's not so much about a sensitive question or anything like that, but I'm doing that because I'm lazy, and I'm doing it because I can't be bothered working out who the best person is to ask. So I think, I've got however many thousand people on Facebook. Eventually, I'll get the answer that I'm looking for, and I just throw it out there into the depths of Facebook, and 99% of the time, you are getting crap back. You're getting stuff that you're getting answers from people that you do not want answers from. You're getting opinions. You're getting people that are then telling their story, or then they start telling you what you should be doing instead of me asking that question. So suddenly everyone's opinion gets thrown into the mix, and you're just scrolling through it going, oh, like I do not want a bar of any of this whatsoever. And then you get the private messages from people who are starting to weigh in and dig deeper, and they're people that you just do not want to talk to. And then you go, what did I do here? And then you realize that, okay, I was just being lazy to begin with, and there was no need for me to ask that question in that space. And so sometimes Facebook can be really good because you can throw something out there, and you can get you can get feedback, you can get that market research where it's sort of like, tell me something that you're doing, or tell me something that you're involved with, or something that you like, or whatever. And then you get that feedback, and then it doesn't matter. Like you can filter it through it. But when you're trying to get to a solution and you're trying to work through a problem, that's when, as you said, you got to find the people that are doing it already and are doing well at whatever that may be, and then approaching them and asking really direct questions to get to those answers, because otherwise it's a lazy approach. You're not going to get the information that you need, and it just takes you even longer, and it becomes more and more overwhelming as well.
Well, who knows what distractions that's going to cause you? Like, especially if you've got something you want to get done today, and you'll be getting messages into the next 3 days if it takes off like that. So you'll sort of like, instead of going direct to, finding someone directly, it might take you half an hour to track them down and get a response or something. But also, like, all those stupid little phone notifications going off, I'm just trying to work now. It's just really. So I think there's definitely a line. If you want to find out, who the best T-shirt printer is in Australia because I'm doing a tour there or something, that's an open question. That could be, that's an easy one. But if you want to, like you're saying, who, okay, I know who's someone who's used this particular thing before, I'm going to go straight to them, and then at least, you know. But yeah, each their own. That's all, mate. You know, it depends. You've got a lot of Facebook friends. I try to keep mine, you know, around a little bit lower, but you know, I've seen what goes on in your world, mate. And I don't think I want to get that far into it, but who knows?
Well, I mean, the other night, I mean, this is an example of me, like, still trying to, you know, battle my own bad habits. But I put a post up on Facebook and said something along the lines of, I can't remember how I worded this, but I worded it in a bit of a quirky way, but something along the lines of, I'm looking for some slick graphic art that can be done, you know, captions over photos and you know, blah, 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 wanting professional, no MS Paint crap or something like that. And, I knew as soon as I was typing it that I was being lazy. I knew it. And so I posted it, and luckily, and just out of pure luck, Adrian from Low commented straight away and gave me a link to a website called Canva, Canva.
Oh, yeah.
And I clicked on it, and as soon as I clicked on it, I went, oh, this is exactly what I need. And I deleted that status straight away, and I messaged him, and I just go, oh, dude, thank you so much. I deleted that status straight away, and he's just laughing at, and I said, I should have just gone to you straight away, because I knew that, like, and Adrian he's been doing my websites, and he does a lot of stuff behind the scenes to help me out. And I just thought, like, why aren't I going to the people that I normally go to and chatting to them and just saying, hey, do you know of any people, or do you know any resources that I can utilize for this thing that I need? But instead, I just got lazy and just thought, I'm just going to write a status update and see what happens. And so
you love the attention, though, mate. Come on, you know you do.
I know, narcissist. But it's you know, and luckily for that one, I deleted it. But sometimes I'll put it out there, I'll get the answer, and I'll just leave it go. And exactly what you said. You keep getting notifications, you're getting instant messages from people, you're getting noise from people that you just don't want to interact with. Like they're just wasting your time. Or it's like, why do you want to do that for? Why don't you do this instead? And it's like, well, that's not the question. You know, like,
yeah, well, that's right.
Answer the question. Like, I don't need to know anything else. And so then you just realize that, oh, well, I've set myself up to fail here. So it's you know, I can blame everyone else for their crappy responses, or I could just blame myself and just realize that there's better ways of doing it.
No, mate. Well, yeah, like we said, there's no right or wrong way. So if you want to ask 5,000 plus people, that you go for it, okay? If your wife doesn't get to see you for a few days because you're on your phone so much, then that's too bad for her. Yeah, that's it. There's no choice for marrying you.
I need to use these powers for good, not for evil.
That's right, mate. Come on, save them up. Save up your mojo.
Going back to your BuzzFeed headline. And the T-shirt thing. I just wanted to touch on both of them really quickly, because I think people, and I guess after we've had this conversation and it goes up, then I'll put links to everything so people can check out all the things that you're involved with. But for these two things in particular, because they're really, really good examples of simple things that get overlooked, and the two things that I looked at and went, oh, well, I kind of knew half of this, but I didn't really know the whole thing. Can we just dive into both of these things really quickly, just to explain so people understand and get a bit of a taste of, I guess, what you're doing with Adbandtage, which I love the pun, and I guess where you're hoping to take it as well. So the Facebook event thing. So do you just want to explain that in a little bit more detail?
Oh, okay. Well, so just in case and no one knows what we're talking about. Yeah. So, you know, when like a band or a venue creates a Facebook page for an event, or an event page, sorry. You know, you couldn't, you'd have to make people co-hosts, and then they would get all the they could adjust the event page themselves, and they could screw it with you. Or they could just not do anything with it, because, you know, they're just not bother inviting anyone or whatever. But there's actually a way by using your computer, you can, you know, it takes like 2 seconds by clicking a few buttons here and there, which you can't see. It's hidden in the way. But once you know how to do it, you do it forever, basically. But you jump on your computer, you click this 2 buttons, and basically you can add it to any page you want. So you don't have to be associated with the gig. You don't even have to be playing at the gig. You can just, you know, you can still share it onto any page. So it's really handy for all those sort of, for any band that is on the web, any band that is on the gig should be, as soon as they get announced on this page, they should be going ahead, adding it to their events. So that way, say a new fan, you know, happens to stumble across your band And then they're like, no events coming. Oh shit, okay, whatever. But then I click on events. Oh shit, yeah, they're playing in my city in like a month's time. Hell yeah! Like, you know, it just shows each band where they're going to be at what point. It's the same with like the like the Spotify ones. You add your events onto that as well. But I think, you know, everyone's always bitching and moaning that no one's showing up to these shows half the time. So if you're not telling everyone about it, how are they going to know?
Well, that's it. And I mean, as I said, like I found this out through Damien in Melbourne, who puts on a lot of shows down there, and he's putting on our Melbourne show, the Metal United Down Under show, and he has a little group chat on Facebook for all the bands that are playing that show. And so he said, guys, everyone needs to do this. And so I'm scrolling through and going, what the hell is he on about? And so then what I realized was, because I've got an Apple phone, using the Facebook app, it's not actually in the app. That's right. You have to go to, I actually just went to my PC on my laptop and did it from there, but I'm not sure whether you can access it through Safari or not. But it's the little 3-dot thing after the share button, which is on the event page. So bands have to actually click onto the event page, and then there's the 3 little dots, which is like, you know, more options. And then in there's an actual function that says add to page. And then that's when you can physically add it to your band page after that. Because, I mean, I had no idea this existed. And because I use the app all the time, I would never see it either. So I had to get out of the app and then use an alternative way of accessing Facebook. But, I mean, such a massive time saver for me, because normally I would have to go, all right, well, I've got to create an event page for Lord and then dump all the information in there. And then obviously if any of the guys are updating any of the show details, then I'm going to have to go back in and change it. And this is just all streamlined, and I mean, you're going to hate me saying this, but it just goes back to the promoter. The promoter can do all the hard work, but I guess it puts the control back in the promoter to ensure that the right information's there. And
I'd rather it be in my hands, man. Like, I'd rather that than have someone do a half-assed looking page and using the wrong images, or, you know, cropping the shit out of it or something. You know, I'd rather it look like that. So that's good. That's good. That's good.
So I think it's a great example of something that's so simple that you know, a lot of people maybe like me who just use an app out of our phone and would never even see this button, not know that it exists. So I think that's just one example of you know, some of these really simple tweaks that can make a big difference.
Well, that's the thing as well, man. Like, you know, well, I always use the phone as well. I don't like the desktop version of Facebook. It's too cluttered. There's so much shit on there. But I saw these, like, how the hell, like, you know, you go to some whatever page and like, how are these people adding the exact same event? Like, or you get a notification, someone says added a new event. Like, how are these guys doing this? And then like, oh, fuck, it's got to be a way. So that's when I jumped on the computer and I found out how to do it. So I thought, I'm going to tell everyone else about this because no one probably knows.
So did you just type into Google, like, how do you add an event page to my...
No, I went to an event page. I just picked up, there was a gig coming up of nothing to do with me or whatever. So I just typed in the next one I knew about, and I just looked around the event page, and then I saw the 3 little dots there. I thought, I'll click on this thing here. And then I saw, add to page. And then when I clicked add to page, I've got a few different pages I could choose from. So it brought up all the pages that you could use. You know, I know, you might have 2 bands or whatever. So then you click the one that's applicable. And then I checked and it worked. I thought, hell yeah. So that was good.
It's really good.
So it took about 1 minute of looking after years of not knowing.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And I guess, I've probably been reinforcing it multiple times now, but it's these really simple things that everybody like just brushes over because it seems so trivial, but they're little things that can make such a massive difference. And when people take the time to, I guess, first find out about it, but then share the information, it just, you know, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And it's just, you know, I think sometimes people probably fixate a little bit too much on the more complex aspects of being in a band, or, you know, or running a business or anything like that. And it's the really simple things that make such a big difference.
Definitely, man.
The other one, your T-shirt video.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
I got sucked into this straight away before even clicking on it, because I saw this Connect 4 thing, or it looked like Connect 4, and I go,
it's not a Connect 4.
No, thing. I know it's not, but I looked at it and went, I go, all right, okay, it looks like Stu's being creative here, and you know,
taking his kids Connect 4 stuff.
And he's got a caption here which is "Save a fortune on mailing band shirts with this simple postage hack," and I thought, All right, okay, he's got me. So clicked on the video. So well done on sucking me in straight away with a nice little
Excellent.
screenshot, because it was a different photo as well, like as far as your thumbnail's concerned. So it got me intrigued, and it was a really good video because a lot of it talks about, Postage, and it's more applicable to Aussie bands than anywhere else. But it talks a little bit about, I guess, the different charges that are applicable for mailing things out across this country. And I think a lot of people they don't know that either. You just pack your stuff up and you take it to the post office, and whatever they charge you, you pay for, and that's it. So, the folding aspect of this video was sort of like the tail end, and that was about it. But the real sort of detail in this was about, the different methods of posting.
Well, yeah, I actually work in the transport industry myself, and deal with this sort of stuff. So that's why I sort of got me intrigued on it. And our buddy Dave Harrison sends out a lot of shirts, and he was doing it really, free postage on these shirts. I'm like, Dave, I went around his house and I'm like, Dave, how are you doing this, man? Like, how can you afford to send out these awesome shirts? He's like, let me tell you. And he told me, I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, I know, look at this. And he's got me a link for the product that you need to use. But and then so I've got to find out more about this. He just showed me how to fold one. He showed me what to use. Okay, I've got to find out more. So I've gone to the post office because we send out a lot of merch when, we haven't done a new album for a while, but this was back, I got this info ages ago. I just haven't got around to doing it. But, and I was like, okay. And I was just drilling this woman because they'd always give me such a hard time. Like, oh my God, you're bringing in so much. Well, we've got a tour coming up or there's a new album or whatever. They loved it because they're getting revenue off it, but they're also try and come in at a good time of day, please. But some shirts are costing most of them were like $8. So there's jam in the middle, one of those red and white sort of plasticky bags, and man, it's costing me $200 there. Even though I wasn't paying for it, obviously, but some were getting, when you go for those overseas ones, they were costing 22 instead of 18, or depending on the country. And where it is. So there's going to be more to this. Okay, and she had this little bit of paper. She was like, all right, give it all to me. What's the weight? So, 0 to 250 grams. Okay, that's one rate, but it's got to be less than 2 centimeters thick and smaller than A4. All right, okay, we can work that out. So which bag do I need to use? Let's use, all right, it's this bag here, but you got to get it under 2 centimeters. So, then I got my shirt folder and managed to fold it. So then I worked out, after that, it was the weight. So I had to, take a few different ones down there when I was posting, and found out that small, medium, and large Gildan shirts, which we sell, were under 250 grams, and then extra large and above was the next bracket, which is 250 to 500 gram. And then when you're going overseas, it was the same, but it was so up to large, could do a large letter rate there as well. So it was basically saving $5 locally and $10 internationally on these things. So I just really thought it would be helpful for everyone else because, it's a lot cheaper to buy a shirt at a show, but a lot of people are just forget, or they don't live in your town where you're playing. So, it just makes it a lot more affordable. And I know a lot of bands will sell their stuff at almost cost price just to get the sales online sometimes. And it's good to cover your costs, but you got to try and find a way to make a profit as well. Even if it's only $5 a shirt or something like that, at least you're moving forward and you can, put it towards your band.
Well, I think a big thing with this, it's all perception, and obviously you want to try and minimize your expenses as much as possible. And yes, the person buying the shirt is naturally, or in most cases, paying for the shipping, but it gets to a point where the shipping gets so ridiculous that it's a deterrent for people to actually purchase the shirt. And so I think you kind of mentioned this in the video, but you spoke about sort of that cost saving and what you could do with it. And for us, this might be a rabbit hole that we jump down, but I'm really moving away from the band perspective of doing discounts and doing sales. We might still do one, but it might be just a 1 a year thing, maybe with dribs and just leftovers. Because I just think there's a perception of value that is attached to an item, and I think if you can maintain a particular price point, and I think doing things really cheap or dramatically slashing prices, I think can actually hurt your band. And I think for us now, I've got a price point for our shirts and our CDs, and it is higher than a lot of other bands out there, but I think that gives a perceived value of what that that item is and the value that person is going to get when they receive that item. And so from a shipping point of view, for a lot of bands, you could find a way to save on that shipping. You reduce the shipping cost, but you actually apply it to the actual item cost. And
yeah, definitely.
And I think then from your average punter out there, it's like, well, that's bullshit. You should be saving me money as a punter because I'm the one supporting the band. But I think from a band point of view, I think it's really important to have some profit. I mean, in the end, yes, okay, you're doing it for the love of music, but you want the band to be sustainable and you want to actually progress and do something. And I think fans are more, and I hate using that word, but I always default to it. But fans or friends of the band, will always support the band if they can see that it's going towards a bigger picture. And so for me, when I look at like these little hacks, these great ways of saving a few dollars here and there, then I'm all about perception and seeing what I can do to add value back to the person who's purchasing it, but also for us as a band as well. So it's a bit of a slippery slope, and it can be difficult, and it definitely challenges a lot of a lot of my own emotions, because you want to be seen to be fair and reasonable, and you always compare yourself to everybody else out there. But I think sometimes you just got to stand alone and really sort of back what you do.
Well, I think a good example of what you're saying is like we've got some really high quality 6-color shirts. Like most of our shirts are 5 or 6 color, and you'd know that every color costs more dollars to print. Yeah. But we want to have we got amazing looking album covers from amazing artists, and we want it to look great on shirts, and these shirts sell great. But we've got a lot of shirts, and the retail for these is usually $25. And I'm going like we've got so much stock here. Like on our last tour, we were in Germany, and we got a couple hundred shirts printed there, and it was a lot cheaper. So we were sort of like, we could probably sell them a bit cheaper, but then the ones we've already got are going to look expensive. So I think, how are we going to do it? So a $25 shirt plus $8 postage, that's $33. That's a little kind of starts getting a bit too expensive for some people, So I thought, okay, well, if the shirt was $20, it'd be $28 with postage. Okay, that sounds pretty good. But then we can now post for $3, which brings it back $28. Subtract 3 is $25. So all of a sudden, if you just do it at $28 or $29 or $27 or something like that, including postage, it doesn't matter what size you're sending out. Really, it's like it's a good way around it. I think where if they're at the show, they're going to pay $25 anyway. So it just seems like you're just paying. You're getting a good deal on postage, I guess. So you're getting a discount, but you're not.
Yeah.
Because you're not discounting your product, but you're discounting the postage because you found a way to do it.
That's it. It comes back to that perception, and I'm all for, doing deals. And I think giveaways are far more beneficial for, a business or a band, than discounting things. So I think if you've got an abundance of old stock that you just need to get rid of, then I think there's creative ways of driving a perception that you're giving away something rather than, well, it's going to be half price now, or it's going to be cost price, or whatever it is. And a free shipping deal or a discounted shipping deal, I think then just keeps the value in the item itself, but it also shows that there's a deal to be had, and there's an incentive for people to make that decision and purchase that item. But I think it's just a case that most bands out there are DIY, and we do it all ourselves, and it's trial and error, and you're only at the mercy of what you know, and most of us don't know what we're doing. Most of us are sort of learning as we go, and we don't have a lot of experience in running our own business, or having sort of any sort of initiative of creating something ourselves apart from music from an artistic point of view. And so when you get into this whole business element, it becomes quite daunting, and so most people sort of just navigate through the darkness hoping that something sticks and something works, and then you run with it, and you just keep running with it, and you don't want to change it ever again. So that's when like for me, like I get stuck in particular habits they've worked, and so why change it? And then that ends up causing problems later on.
Well, I think it still keeps coming back to that whole thing we said in the beginning of like there's no true right or way wrong, but like right way to do it. But it's like if it's working for you, that's okay. But I like it when it works, but I like to always look back and go, okay, how can I do it better? And then I know you're probably the same in that regard as well, man. Like it might work for a year or two like that, but then you can't always rely on it. Like I always sort of think like it's not going to last forever like this, so we need to up our game here. So I got Cam in the band who he does all my technical crap for me. Like he's really good with the sort of recording side of stuff and and all that. So I'm lucky to have him in the band. He can take the pressure off with all that sort of stuff. He'll build click tracks for us and everything that sort of techo stuff there. And gives me a lot of freedom to think about this sort of stuff, which is really nice. So it's good to have a partner like that. I know you've got Tim on your side who can obviously do anything in the studio that you could ever imagine and probably more. So then that gives you the chance to get make yourself valuable in other ways,
Oh, absolutely. And I think, one thing that I think more bands are starting to realize this and take advantage of it is that I think in the past, and I've certainly gone through these growing pains where you sort of think that everybody equally contributes in the same task with everything.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you realize very quickly that everybody's got different strengths and weaknesses, and you can't expect everybody to be, the part manager or the part merchandiser or the part socializer or anything like that, or the part recorder or the creative or anything like that. And so everybody brings something to the table, and you've got to sort of work on those strengths. And so, yeah, like Tim and Mark, I mean, Tim, especially with all the recording and the production and everything that he does. I mean, geez, if we didn't, well, the band wouldn't exist without Tim, but he's a massive, tool in the toolbox. Oh God, that was a horrible analogy.
I'm sure he'd love to hear that. Yeah,
that's right. We'll get that sound. We'll get that soundbite out.
That's right.
And
Tim the Tool Man.
Tim the Tool. Oh yeah, even better. And but yeah, he's got massive strengths in that area. And Mark also now over the years has been a massive contributor to the writing process of the album, and it's got to a point now where for the most part those guys are almost 50-50 with their contributions and the way that they write.
Right.
And they work
Awesome.
They bounce off each other so much, and it works really well, and they've got something in place. And for me, like, I don't have the attention span to sit down and create, and I've got a box full of riffs, and so I just throw stuff out there and go, guys, if any of this works, then use it, otherwise disregard it. And they might pick some stuff out, or they might just say, no, that's pretty shit, Andy, don't we'll stick to our stuff. But that's fine, because my contribution will come from other areas, and so the sooner that we sort of got to that point, the sooner we're able to sort of leap ahead and do a lot of great things. And so sometimes I think, and speaking to other guys in bands, there's definitely been moments of frustration where, musos will go, oh, well, I'm the only one that seems to be doing this social media stuff, or I'm the only one that seems to be doing this or whatnot. And you sort of go, well, it's not really the role of everybody, and everybody contributes in their own way. And so that's what makes a band, and that's what makes a collective of people, and that's what teamwork is, everybody contributes in their own way.
Yeah, well, man, and like ever since the beginning, I've sort of like wanted to do most of the stuff myself, which is, which takes a lot of pressure off the other lads. Like Cam's there to run as a partner in what we need to do, but the other lads are like, they just know their job is to basically just nail their material, rock up and do it, and it gives them a pretty good freedom. Like they're pretty relaxed guys. Like we got Jesse and Cam and Dan, drums, bass, and vocals, who. They're awesome guys, and they don't have any real responsibility, but at the same time, they don't really have any. They won't come in and just try to call the shots either, if you know what I mean. Like, so it makes it a lot easier for me. I can make, they trust that we're going to do the right thing, and they're pretty happy with the direction that we go into. They're just like, hey, what's happening this year? Are we going anywhere cool or what? Like they're just up for the ride, and that works really well for me, because I've sort of got an idea of how I want to do a lot of things, and Cam's got a few ideas too, and we sort of like, all right, so me and him can have a proper chat, because like between two people you can make a decision. Between five people I just can't see how. Like,
that's very hard.
Like, you're going to end up sounding like a weird, like a mixed mash of whatever, and like there'll be no consistency. So it's at least one person has this designated job, and this is your job, and this is your job. Like you're saying, like even though there might be some people might be perceived to be pulling more weight, but I actually enjoy it, and I know Cam does too. And then the other guys, we need them. Like our bass player Cam, we got two Cams, but he's really good at he's like a pro at wiring shit up. So sometimes he'll just come out and go, hey, check out this. Like one time he's like, check out this strobe light I made, which connects to a drum trigger. And like he got like a light bar from a 4-wheel drive. And they're like, no shit, man. Like he had our drummer's trigger module, this was a couple of years ago with our old drummer, and he found some way to wire up to a power source, and then like every time the kick drum went off, it would fire off this massive strobe light he created, and he had a little switch he put like on his pedal board. So if it comes so we didn't want the strobe going for the entire song because there's a lot of kick drum in our stuff. But like if we got to a cool solo section, he just like put his foot down on this thing. Also, I've got this amazing like self-controlled strobe light going off on stage. Like wow, man! Like so everyone's got these cool little talents that like when you need them, you can just call them in and go, hey man, what do you think of this? And then that's their time to put their bit in, But yeah, it's really cool. Like when you give these guys. Yeah, you just find out what some guys can do, and you're like, fucking hell, I never would have thought of that,
Yeah, and I think everybody's got a critical, element of or contribution to the band. And I mean, even somebody that might, I guess, on the surface not contribute as much to sort of the day-to-day operational aspect of the band are probably equally contributing by just playing the role that they play. And so people that are just coming in from, when we all have to get together and, whether it be recording or rehearsing or playing or anything like that, from a more minimal perspective, that's still an equal contribution because they're playing the role that they've taken on in that band. And so
yeah, man, and they're told up front usually as well, aren't they? Like, hey man, we don't expect too much from this is what we expect. And then, but like also if you look at if your band became fucking famous like tomorrow, you wouldn't need someone to do half the shit you do now. Your job would be to play bass, do some vocals, and be friendly if you needed to be friendly. And that's about all you need to really do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd have someone there to do your merchandise sales and pack it up at the end of the night. You'd have someone to do, some of your social media crap if you needed it. Like, it's so those guys, for them, it's like, well, this is for being in a band. That's what it is. You learn your part really, really well. You show up when you need to show up and you play it properly. That's what being a proper band is. It just happens that we're so poor because we play power metal that, we can't afford to pay people to do it for us. So man, we have to pick up the slack,
Yeah, I would love a day where I never have to worry about any of that stuff. But then on the flip side, I kind of think if I'm not as involved as what I have been, then I think I'd probably miss it a little bit. And I think there's probably there's an element to all of this sort of stuff where it's the whole journey aspect. It's the trial and error. It's the experimenting where you try little things. Sometimes it works. Sometimes often it doesn't. But you're always going through and experimenting along the way, and that's exciting and it's fun because there's an element of satisfaction that comes out of achieving something because you're physically in there and you're trying to work through things. So at times, especially when we're doing a gig and I'm like, oh man, I need to be in 3 different places at once. And I've got to play a show, which is probably the last thing I'm thinking of, funnily enough. And you sort of think, man, I wish I had some more people that could just take this over and take it over with confidence, and I wouldn't have to worry about it or even think about it, and I could just get on with playing a show. But then I think there would be an aspect of me that would go, oh, I wouldn't mind getting into a little bit of that and still sort of contributing in that way. So I don't know. I mean, that might be just me being a control freak more so than anything else.
Imagine like Lars Ulrich just walking off stage at the end of the set, walking to the merch booth and just like going, hey guys, you want to buy a shirt?
That's right. I need to stand near the merch table so more people buy merch. Yeah, I've got to.
That's right. He would just stand
someone
there.
Someone hand on my drum kit.
40,000 people there, coming, trying to buy a fucking t-shirt off him or something. I just imagine the chaos of that happening. But I don't know, man. Like because I always have to bring all the gear, like all the merch, because it lives in my house. But a lot of the time we organise the shows from our end, and we don't get invited to play on many other people's shows locally, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But so often we'll be there first, and we'll bring a backline for everyone and bring all the merch and all that stuff we're going to do. And man, I'm lugging all this shit. So we had a gig a couple of weeks ago with Claim the Throne. We're putting on a show before they went to Europe, and my brother Ray is playing in the band at the moment. So he was, he lives in Sydney, so he was coming over here as well. And Cabba asked us to do the show. I thought, yes, we'll definitely do the show. That's really cool. But I thought, you know what? I'm not going to bring any merch to the show. Fuck it. Everyone's had ample opportunity to buy this shit. We don't have anything new. I'm just going to come in. I go, can you supply us with the backline? And he's like, yeah, sure, you can use our cabs and stuff. I'm like, great. So I don't have to bring my big ass van with cabs in the back. I don't have to bring merch. I don't have to be at the merch table. So I sort of rock in, maybe just at doors. They'd come and hang out with my brother for a bit, and then we'll play the show. They'll hang out for a bit more. I don't have to pack anything up. I'm just going to go home. It was like the best gig ever. Like, so relaxed. And like, so, yeah, and no one complained there was no merch. I was like, I just used it as an excuse. Said, oh, no, Claim the Throne need beer money, so we're not going to take any sales off them. Like, if you want to buy something from them. So that, yeah, no one complained. So, yeah, the website's there if you want to buy it. And so, yeah, it was a nice little step into the foray of not having to rush around after work and pack the van up and bring it all in. So I enjoyed that. I don't think I could do it forever, but yeah, it was a taste. It was good. I liked it.
A taste of what could be.
The taste of being a vocalist. Rock up with nothing, do nothing, and then leave fucking before the work needs to get done again, and then just hang out at the bar. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I think that's a good segue, actually. One question that I really wanted to ask you and dig in a little bit, because I don't know, I don't have the full story, and it's not about the story more so, but about the challenge around it. But how the hell does a band deal with a vocalist change? Like, changing your vocalist, you actually released an album with one guy, you've changed, and I know that you've gone back and re-recorded that first album, but I mean, for me, I couldn't think of anything more stressful than changing the voice of the band, so to speak. So, I mean, what sort of process did you go through with that?
All right, so we had a guy from Slovenia who lived in Perth, and we're sort of like just really early stages of the band. So when I started, I sort of just wrote a bunch of songs that I was really happy with, and then before I got anyone else involved, and I'd only just met Cam a few months prior, and so he just did some solos and some demos for me, just so he could help me out, so I could find some property. He already had his own band, and but it also just came in there, and then also we had 2 guitars and a drummer or something, because we had Paul just rock up out of nowhere, and Paul, without me knowing, advertised for the singer, and he came along, and he was, this is Zoran, our original guy. He came in and he was a pretty good fit straight away, and yeah, we did the album and we did some shows. We were good friends, and it was pretty good. But because he was from Slovenia, he spent a lot of time there, and it made it really hard to progress as the band. And he had a really good voice, but we didn't agree on a lot of things. Like, he doesn't like the really high sort of power metal-y stuff. He likes the more Dio, Bruce Dickinson sort of lower full voice sort of stuff. Mm. So moving forward for the new material, like, we were like really like, we're pretty happy with the first album, but like me and Cam were like, oh no, this is going to be like, a real power metal album. This next one, it's not going to be any slower songs. It's going to be all the neck breakers, and it's got the vocals. Because we do all the vocal stuff from our end, and then we just pass on to our vocalists. And so this is how it goes. And it wasn't, we weren't agreeing on a lot of stuff. And we're like, okay, we just got to tell him this is how, unfortunately, this is how the song goes. If you don't want to sing it, you don't want to sing it, that's fine. But as it happened, he sort of went on holiday again, for an extended holiday, which he wasn't planning on at the time, but he'd ended up staying a lot longer. He was away in Europe, and we had to cancel a show because of that. And then we had the original Stormrider show, like the very first festival coming up, and he wasn't sure whether he was going to be back for that or not. So, fucking hell, man, like, I really don't want to sit on my ass for it. And like, we were progressing really well, and we were building momentum every time. And then this guy, Jesse, he just moved to Perth. He posted something on one of the Facebook pages from Perth Metal, just saying, hey guys, I just moved here. Check out my Gamma Ray cover or something like that. And then our drummer Dan messaged me, goes, check out old mate here. Well, fucking hell, he's okay. Well, what's his story? And we sort of I messaged him and got friends with him, and I hadn't met him, and I was like, and then like after a couple of weeks, I said to Cam, like, dude, we should maybe check this guy out and just see if he can just do the show, like, because we don't know if Zoran's coming back, and we wanted to. We didn't want to pull on the show. We had like Black Majesty headlining, and it was a really big deal for me because like it was my first. I'd done promotions before, but this is the first time we were inviting a bunch of Eastern States bands. I think we had 5 coming over, and it's a lot of good vibes about the show were going to happen. So I thought we can't miss out. We're like playing second last. It's going to be good. We want to show that we're not just we never really want to be like an opening act sort of band. It was always like we're a good looking band, So I messaged him and I said, look, man, do you want to meet up? And I said, look, we're looking for a guy just to do this show. We don't know what's going to happen after that. But if it works out, maybe we'll make a change. I don't know. I can't promise. And then, so he came out, we just met up for a beer, and he seemed like an okay guy. Okay, well, look, here's 6 or 7 songs. Do you want to try and sing on one of them, and he sort of did a bit of a demo, and so that sounds okay. And then we just started working together at rehearsal, and we did the show, and the show went really well. We had a brand new drummer that night too, and it was like just a great show. And then okay, man, that was awesome. And we had another one booked, and then like another festival style one, and we did that. And Zoran still wasn't back. And I thought, okay, look, it's time. This guy works out. Everyone loves him. Like everyone's like raving about this guy. He had the high range that we were really looking for, and he was a relaxed dude. Like we can sort of say, look, this is how the song goes. He might drop an idea here or there, and if we don't like it, he's okay with it, which is really good. But he's like, hey, I really like how you guys do it, so that's fine. So and then we're like, fuck it, let's do a single. So we did we recorded a single. And we did the Keeper of the Seven Keys from Halloween cover, and we actually had some live recordings from that first Stormrider show as well. So we did an EP, and that's how we announced him into the band from there. So, and then everyone was like, yes, and then we just progressed. So no one really, maybe a couple of people, not many, would really compare. Everyone was like, I didn't explain it to anyone about why it was happening. It was just basically like, we've decided to make a change, and this was what's happening. And because we weren't really, really well known then, I guess it probably didn't really matter as much. But then we were still selling our first album, and then there was a pressing in Indonesia as well, which they were selling. And when we played over there, that's the only one they had to buy because they didn't press the second album. They just did that as a cassette over there. So some people people still had it, but then we just thought, no. Well, everyone started asking, will you re-record it with Jesse on it? And I thought, well, yeah, we'll do that. So we put off our third album to re-record the first album. So and that came out last year, and I think it really, really paid off to do that as well, because he did all the songs so well live that everyone wanted to hear them at home, you know. So yeah, it wasn't as hard as it might seem. It just happened to really fit and really work out. And to have two guys from Europe in your band, like, yeah, because Jesse's from Turkey. I'm like, how the fuck do we keep getting, like, everyone's like, how do you keep getting these guys? Like, do they live here or what? Like, yeah, these guys somehow stumble into Perth and like just happen to form into the only fucking heavy metal band that's here or something. I don't know. But we got lucky twice. So, we'll just ride it while we can.
Well, I mean, just one thing with Jesse, I remember, and I could get the times and conversations a little bit out of whack, but from what I can recall, I remember Jesse either contacted me on Facebook or maybe even MySpace. I mean, this is going back a long time, and he was living in, I think, Brisbane at the time, and he was, yeah. And I think he'd only just moved there. He hadn't been there long, and he was just trying to find, musos to play with. And I remember him, like, he liked a lot of melodic metal and things like that. And I just thought, at the time, there was just nothing around. And I go, oh man, like, I don't know if I can help you. There's not really anything, I'll keep a lookout, but I don't know, man, you might have to just see if there's any cover bands and just do some stuff, from that perspective. And he sort of was, around that area, and I didn't really see too much more of him. And then suddenly I saw that he relocated to Perth, and then suddenly he's singing with the band. I thought, oh, that's amazing, because, I remember him sort of trying to find people to perform with and really being passionate about it and finding, the perfect match. And I mean, I think just for people that either aren't from Australia or don't understand the dynamic of bands and locations in this country, you guys being a power metal band in Perth, of all places. Oh yeah. I need to emphasize how lucky you guys have been with not only finding somebody to begin with to be a vocalist in a power metal band in Perth, but then to find your new vocalist as well in a metal scene and a music scene in Perth that for the most part is sort of heavily weighted on more of the extreme metal stuff. So
yeah, mate, we were very lucky.
it's incredible, and that's when I saw that all happen. I just it was amazing, because I just thought I knew a little bit about Jesse, and then I saw that match happen. I thought that's amazing, but also from your perspective as a band, just to go far out, guys. I mean, you're always sort of, at least from the outside looking in, you're always pushing shit up a hill with getting this band going and doing something that's very different to the rest of that local scene there, and then to go through that kind of transition, which I couldn't think of anything more daunting to change the voice of the band. But I mean, as you explained, it was a bit more of a natural set of steps that sort of just naturally ended up there, and you guys got pretty lucky. But it's but just randomly just to see someone pop up and say, "Hey, check out my Gamma Ray of all bands."
Yeah, it was fucking. That's why we go, "What the fuck?" Like, it could have been his Rage Against the Machine covers or something, but it just had to be. I think it was like Somewhere Out in Space or one of those. I was like, "Fucking hell, man!" Like, it was like a really. The thing was, it was like a really average fucking like demo. It was just like it was the most basic of demos singing over like a YouTube backing track or something. So it wasn't like a professionally done cover. So I was a bit skeptical, like, that sounds pretty fucking shit. But like, he actually had like good tones about him and like good range. But like because it's just a demo thrown together quickly, like you just like, I don't know about this guy. But once he actually met him, we're like, all right, let's get some real fucking demos down and come down to the studio and we'll see what you can really do. And then that's when we realized, we knew he could fucking hit notes, but when we realized he actually had like a lot of range and talent, it was like, oh, okay, well, it's actually pretty bloody lucky. And we, like you're saying, like it's pretty hard to get going from where we were. We were pushing uphill for a while, but we kept pushing. We never gave up. And it actually happened really fast when you look back. Because I think our first show was April 2011, and then we had our first album February 2013. And then, but we'd already played in Sydney twice prior to that album coming out. Then we had, we've done probably 6 or 7 Australian tours since then. Done to Indonesia a couple of times. Like once we got the second album out, we've played at Hammersonic Festival, which you guys have done. We got to go to Germany. So a lot of stuff did happen after that. So it was really just a case of the momentum hitting that sort of like a critical mass of like, okay, you're ready to roll downhill for a while now. Let's ride this out, and then we're just starting to gear up again for a new album now. So we did get a good we had a good 3 or 4 years out of just that transition. It was just it built us up really well.
It's I mean, there's a bit of proof in the pudding here that I guess the perception could be, or from other bands' perspectives, you think, well, what's the point of starting a band like that in an area like that with the scene looking the way that it does? Because what opportunities would there possibly be? And you said before, like, you guys don't get really asked to jump on other bills for the most part. You guys just set up your own shows. And I think probably the big thing here that a lot of people need to sort of think about is that, and we went through this, years ago with sort of the first couple of years of Lord being sort of a new band, so to speak, with new name and trying to convince people that we're pretty much Dungeon with a different name. But we sat back on a couple of occasions and sort of went, why isn't this working? Like, why aren't we getting the opportunities that we're looking for? Like, why are other bands doing these things and we're not? And then we sort of realized that, actually, we could probably just do this ourselves. And, if we just create it, then everything else will fall into place afterwards. And so, it's the old school thing. It's putting in a bit of hard work. but But you create it yourself. And instead of sitting back and waiting for the opportunities or for the scene to change or for someone to finally play a song and get you some exposure or get onto a support bill or whatever it is, you sort of just go, okay, well, what do we have at our fingertips? What abilities do we have, and what can we do with what we've got now, and then build off that later on. And I think you guys, I mean, you've always given that perception out there with us and a lot of other musos that you guys are just really, really hardworking and very DIY, and there's a real sort of genuine aspect of what you guys do, which I think gives the perception, and perception makes it sound like it's not really the reality, but it gives the perception that you guys are very reliable, and you've got a lot of respect, and I think that will then lead to other opportunities, and that's probably why you guys have had some of the success that you've had so far as well.
Well, I think so, man. And also, like, one thing I always said at the beginning, because a lot of people are like, well, not a lot of people, but some people are like, power metal doesn't work in Perth. You can't do power metal. And I was like, you know what? I fucking love this genre of music. I would fucking I'd rather cut my fucking ears off than have to, if I could have choose between cut my ears off or like no power metal or Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like much other metal. I fucking love power metal, man. And like, I am so passionate about it. I looked at it and go, look, lads, if I want to see this show, I'm going to put on a show that I would want to come and see. Like, I'm not getting, like, we don't get tours like what Melbourne and Sydney get. I went and saw Edgar and like fucking 50 people showed up or something. It was really sad. And I was like, oh man, this is like 2010 maybe. I was like, No, I love, like, so I took everything I love, like, from Ice Earth and Iron Maiden, and even, like, I fucking love Megadeth, man. Like, I know they're not power metal, but that's, like, my favorite band. But, like, you know, all those sort of things, like, what they do on a show, how can we make this the most, you know, we don't have fireworks and shit like that, but, like, it's more like just what sort of, like, energy can we create on stage, and then, you know, show that we fucking, you know, it can be fun. Like, even the most tough guys who come out to, like, those extreme shows, which we sometimes are billed with or whatever, they come and watch us. And, like, you know, I've even seen a dude, like, pump his fist in the air once, and he was, like, the most staunch dude you've ever seen. It was like, you know, we are so smiling when we're playing. Like, everyone's like, you know, you guys are so happy, man. Like, well, we feel good playing this. And, like, you know, and when you transfer that between each other, like, I'm smiling at you, smiling back at me, you know? So it's just how it works. And, like, it's just really worked well. And, like, when we get opportunities, like bands like Halloween came to town, you know, we play with them. And we have, you know, even like when we play with Black Label Society, man, like, that's one of the toughest crowds you're going to look at. You know, all these fucking bikey looking dudes. But we went out there and just did what we did and, like, won a lot of people over. And so I think it's just been the case of just the idea of the show that I would like to see. Like even when you said starting out in Sydney, like, you know, I'd really want to see a fucking Lord show back then. You know, like, if I was living in Sydney, I'd be there every week. You know, I think if you can work out if you'll really feel good about it, like, if you're just doing it to, yeah, this band's okay, I guess I'll just play these guys for a bit and see where it goes. It's probably not going to work. But if you really live it and feel it, like, you know, this is how fucking, you know, you transfer that to the crowd, and then that's how the crowd grows, because they're like, hey, man, I had a really great time. Like, you know, I'm smiling. You feel good, you know. It's like, you know, okay, I'm going to do that again.
Well, it gets to a point where it doesn't even matter what type of music you're playing. If you've got an opportunity to be in front of somebody and you genuinely love what you do and you're projecting that out on stage with this air of like, just not caring about what other people think, but just celebrating what you, it sounds so wanky, but, you know, celebrating what you love, then people get sucked into it. And, you know, it's the energy. It's exactly what you said. It's how do you create that energy? And you love it. You love the music. You love a lot of these particular genres of metal, and you do it because you love it. And so the same with us. You know, we've been billed with a whole bunch of odd and weird different bands and bands that have no relevance or link to us whatsoever, and you get to play in front of some pretty tough crowds sometimes. But after a while, you might be a couple of songs in, and then suddenly you see, like, the corner of someone's mouth, you know, go up a little bit, and then they start to smile and smirk, and then they're watching, and they're probably thinking, what a bunch of wankers on stage, but they're being mildly entertained. And so suddenly you realize that they're actually partially enjoying it. They may not completely admit it, but they're just watching people enjoy themselves and having fun with it. And I guess, you know, I think you guys are similar to us, where, you know, we take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously. And so there's a really good balance between the two of them, where, you know, yeah, and so sometimes it doesn't always lend to other genres, because some genres have got a particular appearance or point of view that you know, it probably needs to be a little bit more serious with the approach. But for what we do, I mean, you've got to get up on stage and just not take yourself, you know, too seriously. But obviously the music and everything you create is serious, because that's what you're passionate about.
Well, pretty much, yeah. Like, I think if it's fun, like, but, you know, like, yeah, you got to be serious and you got to play it properly, and it's got to look like, you know, it's got to be a professional show in terms of, you know, it's all put together. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're there to, like, someone wants to be entertained, so that's why they're at the gig. So you're going to entertain them. And if there's like 10 people there or 1,000 people there, you still got to put on you know, something that's going to be, you know, fun for them, because they paid their money. So, you know, give them the show that they're expecting. But yeah, we've been pretty lucky. We haven't paid to, like, small crowds for a long time, so that's been good. But yeah, the theory stays the same, whether you're doing a, you know, international support for someone really big or just doing a local. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely right, and that's how you, like, how I think anyway, that you'll grow your numbers. But you can't just walk out on stage and on your first show and have fucking 500 people yeah, and they're all chanting your name. It's not going to work like that. You got to, you know, realize that it's a marathon, not a sprint. You can't just have overnight success with this sort of stuff. You just, you know, you got to just have a long-term plan and stick it out, you know.
Well, I think that just comes back to, what you enjoy and, why you do it in the first place. And yeah, you can have goals, and you can certainly, and most bands should treat their band as a business, but you've got to realize why you're there in the first place. And, if you're playing in front of, a god awful crowd of 10 or 20 people, you're still enjoying yourself because this is what you want to do, and it's music that you enjoy and you're passionate about, and you're playing on stage with people that you like and you enjoy playing with, and ultimately that's the winner right there. I mean, you're already winning, and so anything else that comes off the back of that is a bonus, and you capture that and you nurture it as you go and build off it. But I mean, I'm sure you're the same. Seen plenty of shows, rock up to a local show and you see a band get on stage and you can just see the misery on their faces because they're so disappointed on, how shit the turnout is and how crap the night is, or for whatever reason, and it just shows in their performance. And you just think, well, you're getting sucked into the environment and not actually just focusing on what you guys, the reason why people would want to watch you. And so you just make matters worse for yourself. And so that's when there's more of a focus on the external rather than the internal.
Yeah, I think also like a lot of people this is where the online shit can damage you is, like if you're going to start complaining about a shit turnout at your own show, like you can't start abusing people for not rocking up. Like, why? Oh, can't believe no one showed up last night. That was piss week. This scene sucks. Like it's not their fault that you're putting on. Like, if you're going to come out with that negative attitude, like you can't blame anyone but yourself, really, can you? Like, and then why would they come next time? What? Because you're a bully and you're going to threaten them that they're not part of the scene and they don't support you? Like, fuck off. Like, that's not going to do anyone any favors. You can't come out with this entitled thing. Like, yes, I know how to play a guitar and I've formed a band and I can, we can put on the, we can do a show this weekend, so you will be there. If you don't be there, you don't support us, and therefore you're not metal, so you can fuck off. It's like, there's like a million other things I could be doing tonight, so why should I? So it's really a case of like, don't take it for granted. Like, be grateful for everything. If there's 10 people there singing their hearts out, like the very first time we played in Brisbane, it was only a few years ago. It was that one of those Metal United shows. There was like fucking 400 tickets sold or something. We played on the main stage, and there was like 10 people watching us. But the 10 people who watched us were true power metal fans, and they were going off, mate. They were running around that place like crazy. And like some other people got sucked in because they saw how much fun they were having. And like afterwards, like, we went back there like a few months ago, and it was a packed house, and it was awesome. But like, it's like we still gave them what they were expecting, and like we didn't go, oh fuck this city, we're not coming back here. Like, it was really just like, be grateful there's people there who want to see what you can do, and don't complain. Just don't take it for granted when you get the big shows, but also don't expect more than you're going to get.
Well, I think that's a big thing with some of the challenges that the local metal scene, or even just the local music scenes in Australia have struggled with over the last probably 10 or 15 years, is that I think we've naturally, and it's very much a human sort of thing, a human trait, is that we focus on the negatives. And so especially as social media's sort of come into everyone's line of view and we use it on a day-to-day basis now, that it's so easy for people to complain about things in general, just in life. And so when gigs aren't being attended to the expectations that we have, or something bad happens at a show, or whatever it is, then we're focusing on that, and then we put it out there into the public domain, and so then that drives that perception. And as you said before, you have a band complaining about no one showing up and how shit the scene is and everything. And if I was one of those people that didn't rock up to the show and I'm reading it, I'm not going to turn around and go, oh, well, I better get to the next one. I'm just going to go,
exactly, man.
I'm just going to go, fuck you. I have no inkling whatsoever to go and see you guys play, because there is nothing appealing about what you have put online whatsoever. It just sounds like you guys can't pull a crowd. You guys are blaming everybody else, and you guys probably suck as well. So why would I want to get off the couch or whatever else I'm doing and come out and see you guys? And so you have to think that a lot of people out there that are the spectators are probably thinking very similar things. And one thing that I pushed a little while back, and we haven't been playing a lot of shows for the last couple of years, but one thing that we've tried to put more of a focus on is really explaining and putting out into the public domain about how much fun a gig can be and how much fun a Lord show in particular can be. So when we get, a photographer that comes along to the show, we're trying to get them, and it's really hard because you're breaking stereotypes or what they think is the correct thing to do as a photographer, and we say, look, don't take as many photos of us, take a couple, or maybe the first couple of songs, but can you get out there and take photos of everybody wearing a Lord shirt? Can you take photos of the girls that are there? Can you take photos of people drinking and smiling and laughing? Because that's what needs to go up online. People need, it's like your nightclubs. The nightclubs are just filled with photographers going around taking photos of beautiful women and guys all drinking and having a great time, and there's an energy and a magnet there that attracts people and goes, that's the place that I need to be. And that's what a metal show should be. And the best metal clubs and the best venues in the country have been places that are social hubs, and the bands become a secondary thing. And people will go to these venues no matter what every Friday, every Saturday night, because they know that their friends are there. They know they're going to have a good time. And then the question comes after the fact, oh, who's actually playing? And then you go, oh, well, Lord's playing. And they go, oh, awesome, even better, because I was going to go there anyway. And so, but I think there's a bit of an ego thing that comes into play, because everyone wants them, being the band, to be portrayed and put out there, and then everyone just looking at how awesome you look on stage, and you're pulling some rad shapes on stage, and you got your guitar and everything going, and you got your stage show, which is fine. But I think the more that we put focus on the entire event and everything that's happening at the show, I think that's going to attract more people. And it's something that, I mean, we'll try again and do a really big push when we eventually go out and do the next half decent tour, and we will try and get photographers on board to say, look, take less photos of us and take more photos of the crowd, because I think that's just it's a big game. It's a game changer.
Well, I think so, man. And like, all those little things, like, and I don't know, we could go on about this forever, as you know. So I'll try not to crap on too long about it. But no, I agree with what you're saying, man. So I think, I think it's really a case of just trying to, like I said, try and show you how much fun it can be. And then, but, at the same time, there's like fucking 10 people there. Don't be taking photos of the crowd then, because that just makes it look like it's shit.
That's another thing.
Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. I'm sure that wouldn't happen to you guys. Not even in fucking the outskirts of Kalgoorlie or something, wherever you like to play.
Don't worry. Those photos exist and they're out there. But I mean, same thing. I won't harp on this too much, but yes, it's within reason, and you've always got to, I guess, I don't want to tell a photographer how to do their job, but I think you always need to think about who's going to view the photo and what sort of message you're trying to tell people. And the photos, and I've clashed with a few people and very close friends of mine with that are photographers, and people that just aren't, and I've got to word this the right way without insulting anybody, but I just think that people aren't really thinking about the end product and what sort of message is being put out there. And when you take a photo of a half-empty room with like 3 people against the front barrier, and there's just all this empty space, then there's a message that's being sent out there that isn't quite appealing, and it's bad for the band that's on stage, it's bad for the punters or the organizer of that show, and it just makes it so much harder for the people that need convincing to get out of their house and come to a show when they see that and go, whoa, looks pretty dead to me. I don't know if I'd go to a metal show. And so that's when you really need to be creative about the angles that you use, getting really tight and close in on people, and getting a little bit more personal, and just driving a perception. It's all about perception. You've got to paint a picture where people can get a particular vibe from whatever it is that's being portrayed, and hopefully it's a positive one that people will go, that looks fantastic, it looks exciting, and I'm definitely going to go to that next show because I missed out by not being there on that particular occasion. So, but I think sometimes we're fixated on just we're documenting, and we're taking photos, and that's fine. And I mean, I think we're all incredibly lucky that we've got so many really good photographers that are pretty charitable with their services, and so it's hard to sort of criticize what a lot of these guys do, but I think it's just a case that it will also help the photographer as well if they're a little bit more conscious of how they capture some of these moments. But anyway, I'll get off my soapbox about that one.
Well, just lastly, just before we close off on that, I think in my book, it's not actually necessary to have a photographer at every show. Like, you can get enough like, I'm still using photos from like 2012 or 11, man. Like, I when a photographer comes out, I'll be like, oh, look, like, you know, especially if it's one of the ones who want to sell you an image, which is fine if that's what they want to do. But I'm like, look, man, all I need is one good photo. Like, you know, I remember our album launch, we played together with you guys. And there was like a friend of the band came down and they did it for free and all that. But they got this amazing photo of not even of us, but of the entire crowd with their horns in the air from the side. And we still use that photo. Like, it was like, you know, it's 5 years old, but it was like, it showed everyone with big grins on their heads. The lights were on the crowd, and everyone, like you're saying, like, we could use that photo forever, and like, it doesn't date. It just, you know. So, you know, I think less is more in some regard in terms of, but if you can get some good material, you can use it multiple times. And yeah, if it's a bigger show, I'd definitely invite media down. If it's a smaller show, like we're just a support, I'm like, I'm not even going to bother. But, you know, anyway, let's move on. We'll go all day about this.
Definitely. Oh, there's so many things we could talk about. But yeah, we'll do a part 2, part 3, part 4 later on down the track.
A series, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Going back to shows, and you guys have been putting on a lot of your shows in Perth and just sort of creating your own opportunities. Is that sort of where a lot of the Stormrider stuff came from?
Yeah, well, because I had to book every show in the beginning as well. Like, so I really enjoyed putting the shows on, and they seemed to work. And it was good to have the control over what it was going to look like, because a lot of them look sort of half-assed, especially back a few years ago, where like maybe the knowledge or the paint shop or Photoshop wasn't as good or whatever. Yeah. But so in the beginning I was like, well, we're either going to start as an opening act for a year or two, or I can just do it myself, and we can put ourselves as like, we'll get a headline band and we can sort of play second last, and we'll at least have a decent crowd, and we can do it our own way. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll just do it like that. So I just started booking venues for us and doing our own shows. And yeah, they weren't massive in the beginning or anything like that, but we were in control of it, and it gave a good perception of like, oh, hey, these guys are got a nice big logo on this poster and they look really cool. And we had a really good designer back then as well. And then it sort of grew from there, like, because we did a couple of shows in Sydney and Melbourne and met a lot of cool guys, like the Darker Half guys played with us at our first Sydney one, and then we did Steel Assassins a couple of months after that and met a few more cool guys. And we played with Dan Mason's Day in Melbourne, I remember, and Bane and Winterstorm, and it was like all these cool guys were like, oh, what's Perth like? I'm like, well, we're just getting things going for power metal there, and then I just thought, hey, like, they're all asking to come over, why don't we just do it all in one show, rather than put on 4 or 5 shows. So I thought, I'll do the Stormrider Festival. And then that's where that started. So that's been going 5 years. We've done 5 of those now, I think. But yeah, no, so it just sort of grew from there. So, and originally I was like, well, one day I'd love to do international stuff. And that day's finally coming as well, which is really good. So I sort of just wanted to prove myself locally that I could put on a really good show consistently. Not like everyone could do one show really, really well. I think you got to, like, as you would know from that second one that you guys played up, we had Motley Crue come in on the same night and destroy the show for us. And that was really, really disheartening for me. But I was like, no, I've got to keep pushing through this. And then the show still happened, and then we kept going after that as well. And then it's kept growing every year. So the plan always was to hopefully have something so cool that we could bring international bands into one day, or do Australian tours with them. And yeah, so slowly but surely, 7 years of promoting my own shows has come into that.
So you got Dragonland coming out in September, which, to be honest, I did not expect that whatsoever. That was a one that came from left field. I went, oh, geez, wow, totally unexpected.
Well, yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, how did that all come to be?
Well, actually, you might not remember. I don't know how PG this show is, or how I can say. Can I say whatever I want on the show?
You can say whatever you want. No, go for it.
All right. Well, you might not remember this, but I've only known about Dragonland for a couple of years, right? And the power of the internet is what drew us together. Okay. So I was on Spotify or something, and I remember someone else mentioned Dragonland. I thought, I'm looking for a new band to try. I'll just fucking add these guys. First song came on, I'm like, fucking hell, man, like, this guy can sing. Like, who the fuck? Like you think of a power metal band from Sweden, like, they're obviously famous. I can just say whatever I want. So I've gone on Facebook and shared it, and I've tagged in Cam. And I've gone, Cam, check out this guy's voice. It sounds like when he was born, Jesus spoofed in his mouth while God sat in the corner and jerked off. Not thinking, right? I wrote that as a joke. Please, if you're a Christian, I apologize. I do not mean offense. It was I was awestruck at this guy's ability, and I was trying to find the best way to say, how the fuck can he sing so well? So I'm sorry in advance. If I offend anyone, please don't turn off. Andy Dowling then comments below, hey, Jonas Heidgart, this guy likes your voice. Tags.
Oh, wow, okay.
Tags the singer of the band. And I've got, holy shit, you can't do that. Oh, crap, you can't say this stuff in front of this guy. Well, what can I do? So I've inboxed him. I'm going, man, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know him from a bar of soap. Like, I know you just heard him. I was like, I'm really sorry, man. I've said this thing online about you, but as a compliment, I promise, like, it's nothing negative. I really, like, I hope I've offended you. I just think it sounds really awesome. He's like, no, it's cool, man. I love it. That was funny. So that was all right. But yeah. So from that, we sort of became friends, chat once in a while. And then, that was your fault. So thanks for that. And it was like the worst thing I could have possibly said. But it turns out he's actually a pretty funny guy, and he has a lot of memes and stuff. So yeah, obviously it wasn't upset him. And then they were touring in Japan for that Evoken Fest coming up. And so I just dropped him a line and said, hey man, what are you guys doing after that? And he's like, oh, just going back home. I've got my own musical shit to do and whatever. So, well, do you want to come to Australia for a week? He's like, fuck man, that'd be really cool. Like, yeah, okay. And then he put me in contact with the guy who manages the bookings. And we did a deal. It was happening. So I didn't expect it either, but it just worked out great for timing because, as you might, you would know, other people might not know, but when a band comes to Australia, generally the promoter pays for them to fly over. So the closer they are, the better. So, from Sweden to Australia or Japan to Sydney, I'd much rather pay for Japan to Sydney than Sweden, So, that's how that worked out.
Absolutely. I mean, was it something, I mean, as you said, like doing years of putting on your own shows and doing the Stormrider Festival, had you always had in, like, down the track, later on down the track that you would eventually sort of look at bringing over some of your favorite bands, some international bands over? Or was it just something that it just was the time and the place and just seeing it and suddenly there was a light bulb moment that you thought, wow, I wonder if I can actually do this?
Well, we're sort of like, a couple of the local promoter guys around Australia, we had a little bit of a chat about it a couple of years ago. Like a couple of the guys included me on the conversation, actually. They got it going about trying to get some bands over who we normally wouldn't get here. Because I understand that this is business for all these big companies. Like, everyone bitches and moans that bands don't come. But, this is someone's business and livelihood who brings them over. So if it's their full-time job, they've got to make sure they're going to make a living off it. So they're not going to lose money. So it's understandable why a lot of bands can't come here. So there's some of the lads in Australia were like, oh, we could all join forces. And I was like, well, yeah, we could do that, but I'm in Perth, so I'm pretty disadvantaged already. But I'm always so there's conversation going anyway. And then I'd always wanted to do it for like headliners and Stormrider Festival as well as it grew. And then last year or the year before, Piet Selig from Iron Savior contacted me and was like, oh, we would love to play a Stormrider Festival. Like, this is what we need, and could we do it? I was like, fucking hell, man. Like, it was out of the blue as well. Like, we're friends on Facebook or something, so he's obviously seen some of my posts or something. And we chatted before, but he sort of like, just out of the blue, like, goes, oh, we'll play. Do you want us to play? And I was like, oh, fuck, man, that would be amazing. Like, I don't have the finances for this sort of thing. Like, sort of asked around, and I did the dumb thing and went online and said, who's interested in Iron Savior? what not to do. But like, it's a band I really love, and I thought, fuck, that would be a really good band. And but then I went back to him and I was like, oh, look, man, I'd love to do it in the future, but right now, if you're coming from Germany, it's just too much. Let me know next time you're in Japan, and maybe we can sort it out. And he's like, yeah, no problem, man, no problem. And then so I always just had to look at, like, I guess the idea was when someone's coming through locally, like through Asia or something, because most of the bands I like are from Europe, and there'd be that would be one of the for the first time when I don't have as much money or don't want to lose as much money, put it that way. Right. It's going to be, you have to try and minimize the risk, and if you can save like $5,000 on airfares or something like that, that's a good starting point. That's a lot less tickets you need to sell just to not stress out so much. So there's always the idea to do it, just right band, right time.
It's an interesting sort of approach. It makes complete sense, and when you explain it and verbalize it, it's like, well, yeah, of course, like having picking up bands that are already sort of in the vicinity of Australia, being, you know, in some part of Asia. But I think a lot of people don't realize that. And so a lot of people think that it's unattainable to get certain bands here because, yeah, how do you fly them from North America, or how do you fly them from, you know, parts of Europe over here? The costs of just flying them out are going to outweigh any of the returns from any of the shows as well. I mean, a lot of these guys are, you know, they might do reasonably well in Europe, but, you know, here in Australia, they're really going to struggle to get some good numbers at shows, apart from maybe Melbourne. Melbourne's, you know, their own little unique hub down there, but, you know, it's a lot of bands miss out. And so I think one thing that is quite interesting, and Japan's been really good over the last few years, or it's always been reasonably good, is that they've really embraced metal, and there's always tours happening there, and a lot of melodic stuff goes really well there. But even in other parts of Asia now, in Southeast Asia, there's a lot more being opened up for touring bands, and so we're starting to see a lot more metal coming through those areas. So it makes sense for, you know, promoters in Australia and I'm sure, like, I'm telling a promoter how to do their job. Like, I'm sure every promoter knows this, but, you know, to be able
other people out there,
yeah, but to be able to just hit up these guys and say, look, I can see that you guys are coming to Indonesia, or you come to Malaysia or whatever. And yeah, like exactly the same approach that you took. How would you like an additional week and just come down to Australia? And then suddenly you're looking at paying for airfares from that location rather than, you know, from the complete other side of the world. So it suddenly makes everything attainable. It brings your overheads down. It means that the ticket price goes down as well. And there's less pressure and expectations on everybody, including the band that's touring as well, because they understand what to expect, and they understand that, you know, the costs are lower as well, and so then suddenly I think you get a better result from it. But it's
I think so, man. Yeah, you can put more money into advertising as well, if that's the case as well. Like you can, if your budget allows it, you can put in other things to make the band more comfortable. Like first time around, you know, these guys are really relaxed. Like they're a professional band, but the guy I'm dealing with, he wants to make it work. He wants to, you know, go home and do a new album and come back. So he wants to work. You know, have a good relationship, you know, and make it beneficial for both of us, which is really good. But yeah, at the same time, you know, he's relaxed in some regards. We're like, he goes, oh, we don't need a full backline of 20 marshals or anything like that. So that's cool. He goes, oh, we'll you know, share this gear if we need to, or anything like that. So it's good to find guys like that who you can not only find guys work close by, but they don't expect you to pay the world as well. Like they're happy to negotiate and work out what's best for both of us. Yeah. So that's been really refreshing with these guys. They're like, yeah, so they're like back home or anywhere they go. They're a very popular band, but they know it's not their full-time job as well. So they're sort of they're still working jobs like what we are, you know. So, but they just happen to be really, really popular.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting, and I'm sure, like, I mean, you know, given your location, the guys from Soundworks, Dicey and Brad, you know, and Brad's obviously expanded the business considerably over the last few years. But I mean, I think what they've done and what they've built is that they got some opportunities to begin with and started working with, you know, individual bands and building relationships. And then, at least from my perspective anyway, is that they've through trial and error, they've worked out what works and what doesn't. But more importantly, they've built a reliability with the contacts that they've worked with where good news travels. And so when people start talking about, you know, oh, I'd love to tour Australia one day, and then suddenly it's like, well, you should contact Stu from Stormrider. And you've got a good experience from a band. And I think fantastic that the first band that you're dealing with is a band like Dragonland, because yes, they do have a legacy in Europe and they do have popularity, and they've got some guys in that band that do other amazing things as well. So there's a lot of you know, brownie points there as far as really sort of establishing yourself as a go-to for other bands in that domain, where suddenly you can create a framework that makes sense for other bands to take on that risk, or to give it a shot and say, you know, we're going to come down and have a great time, and we understand these are the expectations, and we know from these guys who have been out there what to expect as well. So then suddenly everyone's far more accommodating and wants to work together, and then you get creative, and then more opportunities come off the back of that. And I'm sure that's what, you know, Brad and Dicey worked on for years and years to get to the point that, you know, especially what Brad's doing now.
Oh, no doubt, man. And those guys have been a big help for me too. Like their door's always open, and they're great friends, those two. And I know if I've got a question, I can ask them without any real fear, which is really good. And, you know, and Dicey's rung me a couple of times since the tour has been announced and offered his, you know, oh man, if you need anything, man, just fucking let me know. And so, you know, and one thing I sort of said to them, well, I said to Dicey anyway, was like, you know, please don't think I'm trying to compete with you guys. I'm going to take over. Like, yeah, because I'm definitely, like, if anyone else up there would think that's, because I know there's a lot of promoters out there in the water. I'm not a full-time job or anything like that for me. I don't want to, you know, cut grass on other people's tours or anything like that. Like, everyone's doing such a good job. I just want to bring out a band that no one else is going to bring out. So, and give, you know, put on a cool show. So, yeah, and I think it's lucky for me that, because Brad and Dicey really love the fucking extreme stuff. And I know they've toured other bands like Symphony X and Iced Earth and that. But for me, like, they do such a different genre that, you know, I don't ever have to worry about, you know, you know, even if we both have shows on in the same month, they're different. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to feel like I'm going to be either going to get steamrolled by their massive tour that's going to crush me, which is probably more the case because they do so many big shows these days. But at least it just, I feel like it's a little bit of a niche, even though we're both in Perth and we're both doing a similar sort of thing with like in terms of bringing gigs out or whatever. It's completely different at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, you carve out your niche, and you understand who your potential punter is going to be for your show, and you realise that, yeah, I mean, a lot of us listen to a whole range of different types of music and different subgenres of metal, but I mean, ultimately, I guess if you really want to stereotype your typical or prospective Dragonland fan is going to be very different to somebody who goes and sees, you know, Mayhem or, you know, Cannibal Corpse or anything like that. So it's, you know, there's, if you stereotype from a marketing point of view, there is no overlap with regard to that. So it's, you know, and I'm sure, like, through having relationships with those guys in particular, just as an example, you know, there's a lot of crossover with agents. You know, so those guys would know a whole range of different agents through North America and Europe and other areas where they might have several artists on a roster, and, you know, 3/4 of them might be extreme metal, but there might be some melodic metal on there as well. And so, you know, there's no doubt other potential opportunities there where, you know, Brad and Dicey might go, oh, look, there's no way in hell we're going to tour that band, but hey, Stu, what do you think? You know,
yeah,
there's no way we're going to handle a power metal band, but Stu might be the guy to take it on.
He'll take these fucking idiots. Yeah, like, actually, I asked Dicey, like, you know, if I ever need a tour manager, how much does it cost? And but bear in mind, it might be really gay power metal. He's like, Stu, I've dealt with a fucking 12-man a cappella squad or something like that. He goes, that was a fucking piece of cake. Like, some of the shows, he's done some weird, like, driving and tour managing shows. He's told me, like, I don't know, something about one, like, a while ago, like, there's two twins who are, like, really big on YouTube or something, and they just, like, he goes, it's fucking retarded. There's, like, a bunch of 12-year-old girls there, and these boys are on stage. He goes, they were, like, yeah, good-looking lads, and they were in shape and whatever, and he goes, like, what the fuck? They just, like, threw cake at each other for, like, an hour and a half or something. The girls loved it. Like, he was in charge of them for the day. He's like, well, I don't care. I just sat there and got paid. Like, well, okay. So, he'll do it, but yeah, he's no stranger to the softer side of things, I think, old Dicey, but yeah, he might handball me once in a while. Who knows?
I've still got to get Dicey on the podcast. I think he's starting to wonder why the hell I haven't got him on yet, because I think I've got almost everyone else from Perth on the podcast so far. But
well, you've had Brad, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So I've definitely got to get Dicey on, but I think Dicey has definitely copped a lot of power metal from us, being Lord over the years as well. And he's been a massive help with putting on a lot of our shows over the years, and you know, we've done a little bit of stuff with Soundworks over the years as well. So it's just, you know, he's had the cop an earful of power metal over time. So I think he's pretty good. He's pretty flexible.
Oh, he's a good sport though. But actually, he did say to me a while ago, we're hanging out, and he's like, I'm in the process of putting my 20,000 CDs or whatever it was onto his onto his iPhone or whatever it was, or his iPod. Sorry, he had like a massive 300 gig iPod or something. So he's slowly processing, putting every CD he owns onto this thing, and then he's like, I've got it on random in my car, and I don't know why, but 3 times now, fucking Silent Night's come on, and I only own 3 power metal CDs because they got it for free. and he's like, out of 20,000 songs, your fucking song keeps coming on. And then I think we're at Cabba was having a party or something like that. And then out of nowhere, like half an hour later, it came on. I'm like, are you kidding me, guys? He's like, I'm pretty sure this is like marked as a favourite. He's like, fuck off, but it's not. So I think he might be a closet power metal fan, if not a closet Silent Night fan or something like that. Because it's just very, it's very convenient how often those songs are coming on for him, considering he doesn't have any of them. So, yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, no, I think he likes a couple of songs here and there, but I think his heart sort of sits more in the extreme line of things. But no, I think
that "My Dying Bride" tattoo gives it away, doesn't
it? He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Oh, we love you. Actually, the first time I met him was with that tour, the first Lord tour that you guys did here, and I came along to the shows and. I remember like he was doing your merch or something and you gave him a shout out on stage. I'm like, who's this Dicey guy? And that was him there. That was before I knew anyone. So yeah, that was cool. You sold me a shirt.
Oh, there you go. All right. Bringing people together.
There you go, mate. You're like a nucleus.
That's right. Building bridges, building connections with people.
Shells everywhere.
So if people want to check out Dragonland, come and see them on the tour, where should they go? Where's the resource or the portal to get more information?
stormridertouring.com.au.
Perfect.
And we've recently added a meet and greet at Utopia Records in Sydney as well. So that's not on the gig poster, but if you go to Utopia's Facebook page or their website, you'll be able to find out the info. That's on the Tuesday before the tour starts. We're doing a bit of an informal hangout session down there. So it's not going to be the usual lineup to get your shit signed. I think it's going to be more like just hanging out and chatting. So it's actually going to be pretty cool. Like you'll get more than 10 seconds, like what you normally might get at some other meet and greet. So, yeah. If you're in Sydney, come to that as well. Should be good.
It's a great opportunity for people to get up and close and potentially annoy some people that do really good things in metal. So, and I use that word annoy very very tamely.
Yes. Please don't harass them.
No, don't harass them. But look, guys. I mean, I know a lot of musos listen to this, but there's always networking opportunities out there. So, take the Tuesday off, go into the city, and go and get a beer or something like that, and make some new friends. Because I'm sure that.
So, what's the goal at Utopia? That's near across from a pub now, isn't it? So I've heard.
It is.
I think old buddy Dave Balfour was like, we'll get beers afterwards, and these guys are up to drink, man. So if you guys want to come down, it's at 4:30. I don't know what the city's like. I don't know how it works. Like, what time I don't know how Sydney works. No one drives, do they? Because there's too much traffic or something. But but if you get there at 4:30, I think we'll be there till 5:30, and then I'm sure we won't be far away. So if you want to come down and just show these guys, there's only landing on Tuesday morning as well. So it's going to be a case of like, if you're in Sydney, come and just make them feel welcome, show them what Australia's all about, and just hang out. You don't have to fanboy and stress out. Just be cool and buy the guys a drink and chat metal, and they'll love it.
They are very nice guys, and so it's a good opportunity to make some new friends. So I'm sure they'll be quite stoked to be able to meet some new Aussies. They've met a few along the way, but I think it's a good opportunity if people are able to, and at 4:30 as well. That's perfect. There's Town Hall train station's right up the road, so you can catch a train straight in, take the Arvo off, and go and have some beers.
Excellent. Actually, this is information I don't know. So I've only been to Utopia once, and I think it used to be at a different spot back then.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
It's moved a few times.
Is it on George Street or something?
Yeah.
I went there in like 2001. I met Dave Mustaine and Al Petrelli there, and I lined up forever. Yeah, I remember that day. And I blew my 10 seconds. My tongue got stuck in my mouth, and I couldn't move it. So I
love you, Dave.
Well, I couldn't even get that out. I was like. I remember actually, because you had to have your CD out ready to get signed. This is back when we had those CDs that kids don't have now. And Al Petrelli was first, and I chatted to him. He was pretty cool. And then I got to Dave, and I was like, this is like 2001, by the way. So I was like, only just turned 18, a long time ago. And I remember he had, it was the cover for, the greatest hits, the Megadeth era, Capital era, or whatever it was.
Yeah, the Capital Punishment one.
Capital Punishment, the Megadeth era, not a greatest hits record. Yeah, so it was that one I had with me. and he had like a black pen, but I brought a silver Sharpie. And I remember saying, he was about to sign. I said, "Oh, would you mind using this?" And he sort of stopped and looked at me and slowly took it from my hand and signed it. And I said, "Can we have a photo?" And he looked at, he just turned his head and looked. And then I couldn't get anything else out. I wanted to tell him something. I was like, "Oh," I waited 3 hours for that. That's still really cool. I was like, still loving it. I was like, "I shook his hand." Yeah. But yeah. Luckily, I've met. Luckily, I've been a bit cooler with Ellison since then, but not so much. I haven't had the second shot with Mustaine yet, so I have to bide my time. So maybe in another few years, I can have another crack at that. Let's do it over.
I reckon you'll get your opportunity.
I reckon I will too. I'm just going to bide my time, mate. Just patiently, just wait.
That's it.
That's cool.
Keep rehearsing in front of the mirror.
That's right. Yeah, it's like, you still got time, man. Then one day I'll get the James Hetfield experience if I'm lucky.
Yeah.
And then, actually, when I was hanging out with after the last Iron Maiden tour, I went to their hotel. A couple of guys I knew were there, so I was staying there. And the guys were in the bar. Yannick Gers, very lovely. Dave Murray, very lovely. And then we were just chilling out, and Steve Harris walked in with his entourage, and I didn't even bother him. I was like the one I wanted to talk to the most. Didn't look like he wanted to be talked to. He just sort of just went straight from the door. They had to walk past the bar to get to the elevator, so he just sort of beelined it. So I was like, I'll leave him alone. There'll be another day for that one. That's
all right. Yeah, your time will come.
Yeah. After Nico McGrain told me to fuck off.
Did he?
He did. He was there with a couple of his old digger mates having a drink, and I shook his hand as he walked past me, and then I went and me and a couple other blokes were there, wanted to get a photo, and he's like, fuck off, mate. And then his mate's like, go on, do it for him. Give him the lad a photo. And he's like, all right, then, lad. And he just stands there and looks at the thing and he goes, all right, now, fuck off. I'm like, thanks, you guys. He's an old, but then again, these guys, he's like in his 60s or something, isn't he? He's an old digger. Yeah, he's probably, his slippers on as well. He's in the bar with his like old man slippers, so it's pretty funny.
That's when you give zero fucks. You just don't care anymore.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, this is me. Love me or leave me, whatever.
I've done my job. Leave me alone. You're not supposed to even be in here, guys. And then actually Dave Murray had 2 drinks in his hand, right? He just got them. And he looked at me and goes, do you want one of these drinks? I said, yeah, sure, man. I'll have one. And then I finished it. And then I said to the guy at the bar, I said, I'm taking this glass home. He's like, why? So because Dave Murray gave me a fucking drink out of it. He's like, all right. So I took this glass home, right? I'm actually looking at it right now. It's on my shelf in my office here. Every Friday night when I was having a booze, I'd use my Dave Murray glass. And I would call it my Dave Murray glass. And my wife got so shitty. She's like, stop calling it the Dave Murray glass, because it looked just like our other ones, but it was like about 2 millimeters shorter and a little bit heavier. And I was like, I could tell the difference between all these other glasses. And like, I kept putting it in the dishwasher, and she kept going, you got to wrap that up and put it away. I said, I want to enjoy using it. And then like, eventually the dishwasher broke it and cracked it.
Oh no.
So now it's on my shelf repaired, but out of action now. I can't drink out of it anymore.
You can just look and admire it.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's a great memory. It had a vodka and lime in there, and it was given to me by Dave Murray. So do you have that, Andy? Do you have one of those?
I do not. You've got one up on me.
I've got something. I know you've sold a cup online for $20 or something, that stupid mug, or whatever that was. So imagine what I could sell this for.
Oh, mate, I think if you can get a good story around it, which you've just
well, yours was all speculative too, wasn't it? Yours wasn't even true. You just speculated what it could have done.
Mine was just from an op shop. I just made up a story. So
it was good though.
It worked out well.
Proved your wife wrong.
Yeah, $20 for what looked like an egg cup. So it was pretty good. We're going to throw it in the op shop bin, but made 20 from it. So all worked out well.
Excellent.
Well, I'll put all the links, everything to the Dragonland tour, to Silent Night, to Adbandtage. I love that pun. There'll be heaps of info there. But Stu, I'll let you enjoy your Sunday. And thank you for getting up early. I'm not sure what you do on a normal Sunday, but you're a couple of hours behind me. So thanks for getting up and having a chat with me. Oh, mate, that's no worries at all. Thanks for having me, mate. And it's always a pleasure to when I listen to your podcast now, I hear myself, not just you. So that's good. I actually, quickly before I go, I applauded Riley's one the other day to him. Yep. Riley Strong. I said, maybe next time you and Andy do a podcast, you could try and hold it underwater as a challenge.
because he fucking out-talks the shit out of you, mate. He destroyed you. Usually it's all you just talking, and so I try to hold back and give you a chance to talk, because but he that man could talk. He's got some stories, and he just shut you. Like, you could just go on for a shit and made a coffee or whatever, and come back, he'd still be going. He was a legend. What a talk!
I tell you what, when we started, and I always do this every time I'm about to start an episode with somebody, and we start talking, and I write out a whole bunch of notes, and that's always my safety net. I never really sort of look at it, because most of the time the conversation just goes off and organically sort of builds, and you just go off in whatever direction you go. But sometimes you need it there, and it's your safety net. And it's for those ones where the person turns around and gives you like a one-worded answer, or just gives you a really crappy answer, and it just seems like you got to get blood out of a stone. But when Riley opened his mouth, the weight off my shoulders. I mean, I knew Riley anyway. I know him, and he's such a great guy. But you never know. Like, even like when I call you up on early on a Sunday morning, I don't know how on you're going to be, or how fresh you're going to be to have a lengthy conversation. So when Riley just opened his mouth, I just thought, awesome! I can sit back and I can just feed off everything that's coming out of his mouth. It was just fantastic. And mate,
that was a good chat, man.
He's a great storyteller, and there's a few little things that he mentioned in there that I think people that haven't listened to that episode yet, I've got to try and highlight online, because I think there's a few statements and a few one-liners that he made along the way that I think other musos in particular need to see and need to hear. So I'm going to work on that. So it's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. I'm going to make sure that Riley becomes the spokesperson for a lot of DIY metal, because there's a few nuggets that came out of his mouth.
What you need to do is open up Canva, which you know about now.
Yep.
Get a photo of Riley, and then type a quote from Riley onto that Canva thing, and then you got an Instagram for days, mate. Look at that.
I've already done it.
I hope you have.
I actually look. I'll touch on this really quickly. So that Canva thing, that was the entire reason behind it. So what I've done is I've actually started pulling out 3 to 4 quotes from each episode, and then I'm doing a little image that has a quote from that person, then referencing the podcast episode. So the guy that I just had on this week, I've actually started testing this out, and I've put one up just to see how it goes, and I'm going to start doing it. So I've gone back and I've listened to some of the Peter Hobbs episode again, and I've pulled out a couple of nuggets from that. I've got Riley's ones there, and I'm just going to keep going back, because I've got so much content there. And I think that's one thing with podcasting, which is a bit of a challenge, is that you've got to convince people to listen to it. And podcasting, I think people are becoming more accustomed to it and understand the format and where to listen to it, but you still got to convince people, and there's a lot of noise out there. And I think by extracting little bits and pieces and little stories here and there, and then putting it online in a different way, will be a bit of a magnet and a bit of a draw card. And there's some pearlers that came out of Riley's mouth, which I think people just need to see, and I think it's going to put him in a good position, because it's absolute gold.
Oh, fuck it, man. And with mine, you can just put in there, have a photo of me, and just say, Nico McBrain told me to fuck off. And that will just, everyone will just hit subscribe, man. That's gold right there.
Done.
Everyone wants to know about how that happened.
Oh, that's it. Absolutely. You know what?
Right.
I might actually do it. All right,
mate. Good, mate. I'll let you go, mate. Go enjoy your Sunday.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, folks. I hope you enjoyed that chat with Stu. If you want to reach out to Stu, you can do so in a whole range of different ways. He's one of the most approachable people on the internet, I think. To make it really easy, you can go to andysocial.net and click on the show notes, and all those links and bits and pieces of information will be there, so nice and centralized for you all. However, you can go to adbandtage.com, which is ADBANDTAGE.com. You can go to powermetalsupreme.com, which is for Silent Night, his band, and you can go to stormridertouring.com.au for all of the Stormrider tour details, including the Dragonland tour, which is happening next week as time of this release. So depending on what time you're listening to this, next week is the Dragonland tour. You've heard the plugs already, but if you want to laminate, if there's any left, email Stu, show your proof of purchase for your ticket, And hopefully there'll be one left for you there. But enough of that. AndySocial.net, go and check all that out. Thank you so much, Stu, for your support of this podcast, but also being a part of it. Great chats, and no doubt we'll catch up quite a few times in the near future as well. Now, before we wrap it up, if you want to support this podcast, you can do so in a whole range of different ways. Buying merchandise via the lord.net.au website or the andysocial.net website. We've got a whole heap of different stuff there. You can support this podcast with a bit of social media love, liking, tagging, retweeting, sharing, recommending this episode and other episodes to friends, leaving reviews online, whatever it might be. It all goes a long way. Supporting the Selfstarter podcast as well, I should mention, over at selfstarter.com.au. Also, before we wrap it up, I'm just trying to cram as much information in here as possible. 2 Lord shows for 2018, September 22nd, Saturday, September 22nd at Max Watts in Melbourne. We are headlining the Metal United Down Under Festival there with a whole range of awesome Australian metal bands there. And we're also doing Saturday, November 3rd at the Ballface Stag in Sydney for day 2 of the Steel Assassins Festival. You can get tickets to both shows via lord.net.au or the andysocial.net page on the shows tab, or you can go to Moshtix. They're selling the tickets, and I believe Oztix are also selling tickets for the not the Sydney show, the Melbourne show. Either way, lord.net.au is probably the easiest place. If you get lost, let me know and I will guide you to your destination. But that's it, folks. Another episode in the bag. Thanks so much, Stu. Thanks to you all for supporting this podcast, and until next week, take care. Ta ta.